Today I will walk you through how I edited this recent picture on my feed and how to get those blue tones with the contrasty reds. This is my new Instagram account. Have a look around. If you like what you see, chuck it a follow. That would be greatly appreciated. But now let's jump straight into Lightroom. So here's the raw image. It was shot quite high ISO 2000. That's because we were in the shop. It was pretty dark. As we can see, it looks a little bit warm, and for the look we're going for, we want to cool it down. So let's bring the temperature down a little bit. Let's push the magentas in just a touch. And we want to start with the basic balance of the image, so we have a good base to build our look on. So let's start with bringing up the exposure a little bit. We will want to decrease a lot of the contrast because we will be adding that back in with the curves. Let's bring the highlights down. Bring the shadows up as well. Whites down. And for now, we'll have a really flat picture because, as I said before, we will be adding a lot of contrast with the curves. Okay, let's move on to the curves. For the sake of saving time, I have already done the curves, but I will walk you through it and explain what they do. So now we have a lot more contrast once it's enabled. The real magic happens in the RGB channels individually. Now let's go through them. And you can see that they're not the same. In RGB curves, our goal is to create a strong S curve. And as you can see here, we have quite a lot of contrast in each channel, in the greens and in the blues. This curve is modeled after a 2383 film, which is a print film and is often used in high-budget Hollywood productions. As you can see here in the shadows, our red sits the lowest, followed by green, and then blue sits the highest. For now, that's where I'll leave it at the curve. If you want a more in-depth explanation of the curve and how they work, leave it in the comments and I will make a separate video explaining how they work and why we do what we do. But now that we have our curve, let's move on to the HSL sliders and dial in the colors. So we'll start with the red and we'll push them a bit warmer, up somewhere there. Let's move to oranges, and oftentimes with the sliders I find it quite easy to swing them around to find where you want to be. With the oranges, we're going to make them more red. Also with the yellows, we'll swing them around as that will help us find where we want them to be. And as you can see here, this is what we're changing. We don't have a lot of yellows in our image, so we'll warm them up a little bit. Let's go to green. We'll actually make our greens more blue and then we'll desaturate them. With aquas, we're going to push them more towards blue. It's going to give them nice depth. And then we're going to bring our blues a bit more to the teal. Somewhere around there should be good. With the purples, we're going to push them to blue. And we're going to do a pretty hard push because we don't really want purples. And with magentas, we're going to go almost all the way to the red. Right, with saturation, let's push in a little bit more of saturation in the reds. Oranges as well. Now we're going to start to see where our colors are actually going to be, and we're going to go back to the hue and adjust them as needed. We're going to have our, let's pull the saturation on the yellows down. We don't want them overpowering our image. Let's desaturate our greens, and by doing so you can tell that they turn almost black and have a slight blue tint, so that is what we want. Also with aquas, let's bring them down. It's actually quite a desaturated image. We're going to bring our blues quite down as well. Purples, let's swing them around. Let's actually increase. With the purple, I can see it giving our image a nice blue tone there. magentas, let's swing them around. With the magenta, you can see that here and here we're getting bad haloing and it's breaking our image. That is not what we want, so we'll back those off. Somewhere like that. Alright, with luminance, let's bring our luminance down to about 20. And for red, right now I'm mainly focusing on her lips because we want our skin colors to be accurate. Right now her skin doesn't look that great, but we will fix that later on. Also oranges, bring those down, give her a little bit more tan. Let's go back to hue and fix our skin tone a little bit. Let's dial it in. Here we go. That looks a lot more natural. Let's play around with the luminance on the yellow. I actually quite like it. Let's bring it up as it gives a nice pop to these highlights. Let's bring our blues down. Nope. Let's bring our greens down. Not all the way, but almost. Aquas. I don't think we have a lot of aquas left in the image, but we'll bring them down. Other times with aquas, you can create a nice contrast in water. If you have a lot of blue water and specular highlights, then by bringing this up and bringing blue down, you can create a nice contrast, but we don't have a lot of aquas, so we'll just bring them down. Let's have a look at purple. We'll leave that somewhere there. And magentas. We're gonna park it somewhere around here. And with the HSL tab, it's really down to the taste. Of course, you want to go after your look, but oftentimes you will not have the same settings for other images because that's how you dial in your colors after the curve. So those are going to be your secondary adjustments to get the look where you want it to be. Okay, now I think we can add a bit more contrast to our image and perhaps warm it up a little bit. So bring it up a little bit, push more contrast in there. Yeah, we can bring our shadows down a little bit and maybe push our blacks down. Maybe pull that up. How about our highlights? No, I kind of like where our highlights are. Let's see if we can warm it up. Okay, we're kind of getting there. See, that's again breaking our image. Okay, let's go back and fix our skin tones. Now let's move on to saturation and vibrance. What I like to do is I like to bring up the saturation a little bit and then control it and bring it back in range with the vibrance, because the sliders work differently. The vibrance will only affect the most saturated colors, whereas saturation will bring up everything equally. And we're just going to continue tweaking the HSL until we get our skin tones looking the way we want to. Right now we can see that there's quite a lot of magenta in here in the skin tone, whereas in our reference image it's not quite the case. Okay, let's move on to split toning, and we're gonna put a little bit of blue in the shadows. Don't want to go crazy, about 10 is enough. Yeah, here we can see it looks pretty good. So we'll look at the balance. I think we're gonna park our balance somewhere around here. I think we need a bit more contrast still. Yeah, that's bringing us in the ballpark. Now we're getting there. little warmer. Almost there. Have a look at our reds. And what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to dial in the skin tone to look right. That's the most important part. Humans are very aware of skin tone looking off. So you want to make sure you spend your time getting it right. Especially when you're doing a heavy grade like we are doing here. It is very easy to have your skin tones go all crazy. I think we need a bit more pop to our blues. You can see here on the shoulder, it's a bit brighter. Whereas here it's looking a little bit flat. So let's see if we can fix that. Perhaps bringing that up. Nope. That's more like it. And maybe a bit more saturation. Good to hear. Yep. Let's enable our profile corrections, just so we don't have any distortion. I like to bring my vignetting down. Now let's move to calibration tab. This is quite like channel mixer if you're familiar with Photoshop. If not, don't worry, follow along and you'll be fine. So let's see. Whoa, crazy looks. I think we're gonna be pretty good at somewhere around there. Bring our reds up a little bit. You don't want to go crazy with these because they are quite powerful. Okay, I think we're almost done. Okay, let's add a little bit of grain. Somewhere around there should be good. Maybe a little bit more size. And roughness. That's too much. Bring down the size. And amount. Okay, we're good there. Next thing, let's make the eyes pop. Just to draw a little bit more attention. Let's go to the brush tool, zoom in, and let's just paint it in. Bring up the exposure, highlights, and go pretty crazy here. But you don't want to bring shadows up because that's just going to look weird. Just a touch. And the whites. Perhaps a little bit more clarity as well. Okay, I think we're good. Zoom out. Sorry. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that image. Let's look around. Yeah, the blues in the second edit actually look a bit more saturated, but I do prefer it like that. Because in the first edit, they look a bit too flat and a bit too teal to my liking. Oh, and the last thing. Okay, yeah. Go with that, and let's crop it and make it nice and straight. Should be good. Hit enter. And that is our image. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. I'll try to answer them or make a video about them. Okay, see you next time.